Hey guys, with Season 5 of The Flash on the way this October, I decided to put together a little video reviewing the past 4 seasons. By the way, spoilers for the CW's Flash. Basically, what I have to say about the show is it started out absolutely fantastic, got slightly subpar but kept its momentum, and then kinda took a weird turn. So I'm gonna start with Season 1, which I think was absolutely fantastic. I feel like Season 1 of The Flash had perfect time travel, which is super rare. I mean, perfect time travel within my own fan-made rules instead of the show's rules in terms of the finale's black hole. I know that's very childish, but many were saying that the Season 1 finale didn't make any sense because the death of the Reverse Flash, or at least the prevention of his existence, would have prevented the entire season from happening. I think that's the whole reason the black hole showed up. I think that was sort of a Back to the Future scenario in which the universe was going to destroy itself because of the paradox, and Barry just stopped the universe from destroying itself, so it continues to exist with this paradox. Of course, Season 2 kind of debunked that theory, but moving forward, with other reasons, I thought Season 1 was just absolutely fantastic. I thought the storyline was great. I'm a sucker for the origin stories. I thought they did a great job of sort of stretching out Barry's origin over the course of an entire 23 episode story arc, along with some fun filler episodes. There were very few episodes that I feel like fell short. I feel like the worst one of Season 1 was probably the Queen Bee, Robotic Bee episode, but it still managed to tie into Barry's dilemma with learning that Harrison Wells murdered his mom, so I felt like the humor, along with the tone and just the emotions of the characters, were very natural in Season 1.
He likes this song.
How could you possibly know that?
I checked his Facebook page.
Jokes just kind of came off naturally. They didn't feel forced or very cheesy. I feel like every episode had a cheesy moment, to say the least, but for the most part, it felt very natural. I thought the emotions were very compelling. I felt like crying when Barry went to confess to his father that he found the Reverse Flash but didn't have the strength to catch him. And that leads me into the amazing villain. The Reverse Flash was personal. Of course, he plays off of that cliche that a superhero has to fight someone with the same exact powers as them, but the very personal connection to Barry Allen just made him very good. Not to mention the phenomenal acting from Harrison Wells made me believe that this man was one of the best actors I had ever seen in my life. What was good about Season 2? The villain is still amazing, even though he's got the same powers as the first villain and Barry. Zoom was really good, not because of his power set, but because he had a different personality. That worked because he was still an incredible character that was appealing enough that you don't really care that he's another speedster. I thought Zoom was very intense, and the fact that, the Reverse Flash was crazy, but he had a method to his madness, if that makes sense. Zoom was just completely mad. It almost felt like we were dealing with the Joker as a speedster in terms of just being clinically insane. Another pro, I felt like Iris and Barry actually seemed like a natural couple in Season 2, even though they're not together yet in the show. I think it's rather unfortunate, though, because when they actually do get together, it's the least believable that they actually love each other. Cisco and Harry's relationship is top-notch. Yeah, Harry is just a fantastic character in Season 2. The whole concept of the multiverse was exciting, well done, and very fun. The cons with Season 2, well, Reverse Flash Returns kind of ruined my theory about the black hole, and in effect creates a shaky new time travel rule that makes the rest of the series very confusing, especially since the explanation of what a time remnant is in that episode and the explanation after that episode were completely different explanations. Reverse Flash Returns claims that a time remnant was simply the Speed Force protecting Reverse Flash from existential harm. The rest of the season claims that a speedster can create a time remnant by going back in time a few seconds, and that time remnant is basically a clone from a deleted timeline, and it can only be created if you're willing to die. I don't know. On top of that, the time wraiths were introduced to basically kill any speedsters who mess with the timeline. It seems very dark and out of the blue, to be honest, and while Flashback was easily one of the best episodes of Season 2, the time wraiths don't make any sense because where were they when Eobard got stuck in 2000? Where were they when Barry created Flashpoint? The time wraiths seemed like a cool concept until they ended up sticking the writers into a corner. The pros of Season 3 involved the introduction of Kid Flash, who gets better as time goes on, but it's a very slow ride there, and the musical special. I never expected to love a musical crossover of The Flash and Supergirl, especially since I don't really like Supergirl, but the musical was fantastic. It had great performances, and it tugged at the heartstrings, playing with the Disney loves kiss type of storyline. The cons of season 3, it's super depressing. It introduces some cool concepts, but those concepts fall flat for even more convoluted time travel. The villain is also not nearly as interesting, even though he could have been. I feel like if they've given more time to explore Time Remnant Barry, instead of the secret of Savitar's identity, he would have gone down as a much more likable villain instead of a repetitive annoyance. There's also this idea that the hero never kills or else he'll become evil. I always felt like that idea was really stupid because Joe, Cisco, even Barry have killed people over the course of the series, but he can't kill a freaking gorilla because life is important and there's always another way? Like, come on, Barry. And then Savitar claims that if Barry kills him that he'll have won because Barry will compromise his morality. Not killing Zoom made sense for Barry because he was in a destructive emotional state. Not killing Savitar just slows the story down that clearly wasn't explored well. Then Iris kills Savitar and everyone congratulates her, and Candace Patton even goes on the record saying that it's very empowering and feminist for Iris to do the killing that the whole season claimed that would have made Barry evil. The pros to season 4. They delve deeper into the whole don't kill the bad guy philosophy by clarifying that having extraordinary powers gives one more options than the average person, and that they shouldn't kill off a villain just because. That makes sense. However, it doesn't make sense with the past 3 seasons since the bad guys were always much more powerful than the main heroes and should have been killed just to keep the public safe. The crossover was much better than the invasion storyline in my opinion. The overall story and action was great. DeVoe was another great villain, especially since they linked him all the way back to season 1, my favorite season. The nuclear episode was great. Enter Flash Time. They introduced this new power of Barry's, but later they redefine it, which they kind of did with a time remnant thing, so I wasn't happy about that. But Enter Flash Time was very intense, and I love an intense story that pushes the characters. The cons to season 4, there are unfortunately more of those. I feel like season 4 was more upbeat and peppy than season 3, which I appreciated. However, there was a bit too much humor that works sometimes but doesn't fit naturally like it did in season 1. It almost feels like you're watching a sitcom now, but the jokes mostly fall flat, which is unfortunate. Once episode 9 came around, I was like, okay, this is awesome. They're gonna really make it serious now. And that's what I was expecting with the whole Trial of the Flash storyline, which only lasted for a tiny bit, just to come back with meaningless humor. This season introduced such exciting and promising premises, but didn't deliver on them. I was so hyped when Elongated Man showed up, but didn't really care for him as a person after that. I thought DeVoe was the best part of the season and was an amazing villain choice, but unfortunately, we focus more on boring characters or boring storylines instead of him.
You are not the Flash, Barry. We are.
And then we have the mystery girl, who is obviously Barry's future daughter, and all the Speed Force language that they were writing, and the fact that Harry was writing out the Speed Force language as well. All of those turn out just to be teasers for season 5, even though they were premised in the first episode of season 4. It's also the first season that the Flash gives into this concept that the Arrowverse shows are just pandering to SJWs. I don't want to throw that term around, but it's true, and I could rant about it in a future video, but here's the thing. If you sit back and legitimately think, oh cool, this show is pro-feminism, you need to reevaluate how you look at the world, because a feminist program doesn't shove agendas down your throat.
You a Doctor Who fan, Joni?
Well, ever since he became a lady, I am. Hashtag feminism.
Hopefully season 5 is better, since The Flash appears to be following this Arrow format when it comes to the quality of seasons, and a lot of people seem to like Arrow season 5. The fact that they're following this format makes me think, shouldn't you learn from your mistakes with Arrow? I feel like Arrow should be the guinea pig and not the definitive outline for all these shows, but it appears to be the definitive outline for all these shows anyway. I don't know how long I'm going to stick with The Flash, because I feel like it's really just declined since season 3, and it's a shame because season 1 was the closest thing I felt like was just perfect superhero television. I mean, I know people who would really disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. What are your opinions? Make sure to comment down below, subscribe to this channel for more content, and I will catch you guys next time. Why am I talking like that? That's really weird. Bye!